Good afternoon and welcome to Teleislas News, the most relevant and important information of the day. 200 years since the adhesion of the archipelago to the Colombian country is commemorated today at the Bank of the Republic. The general manager of the bank, Irma Bermudez, has so announced.
The history of Colombia tells that 200 years ago, on June 23rd of 1822, the inhabitants of the department decided to become part of Colombia in a formal act fulfilling all the requirements. However, there is no evidence of any document resulting from this act with signatures by the protagonists of this event. The activity that will take place today was specifically dedicated to resolving some doubts regarding the adhesion of the archipelago to Greater Colombia.
Y la idea es de pronto indagar un poco.
The idea essentially is to be able to inquire into historical facts that would help us resolve certain doubts in terms of the reasons that led us to make the decision to adhere to Colombia. Topics such as this have led to so many questions on social media with researchers and historians as an interesting, thought-provoking analysis. Therefore, this is the opportunity to be able to answer these questions.
This activity will have the participation of the Secretary of the Academy of History, Mr. Roger Pita.
Que hablará un poquitico de la...
He will talk about the research that he has done about slavery during this period, which will also help us to understand a little bit what were the reasons, some of the facts that motivated that decision. And we will have the results of Pastor Enrique Pugh's research. He has done extensive research. The results of these primary sources and the interviews that he has done, and so it would be interesting to know the results of a person who for many years has had contact with people who have once been enslaved.
An extremely interesting activity for the Rizal population that will allow them to learn about the history of the island. The discussion will be held in the auditorium of the Bank of the Republic from 4 p.m. today, and the community in general can attend.
Rizal leaders from different organizations sent a letter to the President-elect Gustavo Petro, expressing solidarity with his objectives for the country and their support to address several of the problems of our archipelago.
The letter begins by extending congratulations to President-elect and Vice President-elect Francia Marquez and to all the members of the historical political party. They also highlight support to lead the country towards greater equity and justice. At the same time, solidarity and invitation of unity for the territory as follows, and I quote, "We want to stand in solidarity and join our efforts for a more just country and global village for all. All principles and values legacy of our ancestors are based on brotherhood and love towards our neighbors. We want to resume the path towards the healing of the souls of the land of our being." Today, the Rizal indigenous people celebrate 200 years of the free adhesion to Colombia in an apparently confusing event that most of the country does not know or has ignored. Rizal have resisted 200 years under a yoke that has not been progressive, but rather annihilating of their country and values, of their lands and territory, of their environment, of their self-determinations and self-government, in short, of their very existence as a people. Rizal leaders also extended their knowledge on topics such as the population carrying capacity model, the sustainability of the seafloor biosphere resolved self-government, the reconstruction of historical relations with Nicaragua and other sister peoples of the Caribbean, artisanal fishing, food security and sovereignty, and the model of cultural community and ecological tourism. The letter was signed by leaders Ralph Newval, Edgar J., Jairo Rodriguez, Pastor Ricardo Martinez, Pastor Alberto Gordon, Josefina Huffington, Connie Robinson, Corinne Duffis, and Elmer Eubanks.
And the heavy rains during the last hours in the archipelago have worsened the mobility situation of inhabitants of the Four Corners sector who are cut off because they do not have an optimal access road since the beginning of the construction work.
Something that should have been a benefit for the community is harming us. We have no street. We have no way to get in or out of our house. The neighborhood is flooding. Please help us.
These are the words of Jorge Hernando Ramos Henry, inhabitant of Pepper Hill on Four Corners Street. After the heavy rains registered in the department, the community of Four Corners requests the intervention of the departmental government to solve the problems that afflict them.
The inhabitants of the Four Corners sector can't take it anymore. Since the beginning of the roadworks, they have abandoned them. and since the beginning of the April, the workers were informed that the rainy season was coming and that they should not intervene on the street. Since last night, the rain started. We are about to have 80 hours of rain. Today, the rains continue. We have elderly people and children in the sector who cannot enter their homes or go out. Please, help is requested to the competent authorities to come and take care of the situation.
The news agency contacted the press office to know the position of the portfolios in charge of this issue. The information received is that in the next few hours there will be a statement on the situation.
And with the support of the Ministry of Transportation, the departmental government, the Chamber of Commerce, Infotep, the Island Sports Society, and business associations decided to join forces and form the Seafloor Regional Logistics Alliance. This union will allow the archipelago to achieve regional objectives that facilitate economic and social development. The purpose of this alliance is to promote logistics facilitation initiatives, interinstitutional coordination, and the development of public policies aimed at improving competitive performance, productivity, cargo transportation efficiency, and improving regional logistics. The rain does not stop in the Archipelago Department. The Institute of Hydrology, Meteorology, and Environmental Studies, IDEAM, has already made a statement on the weather forecast for the islands.
In view of the heavy rains registered in the last hours over the archipelago, IDEAM, through its Twitter account, announced that the persistence of rains accompanied with electric discharges is expected for today. It also reported that for the next 3 days, the archipelago will present cloudy conditions with rains of varying intensity. On the other hand, the port captaincy delivered a report on the weather conditions for the island. Entra Camilo, siguiente off.
En el momento continuamos siendo afectados.
At the moment, we continue to be affected in the jurisdictions by the interaction between a high-pressure system in the Azores located north of the Atlantic Ocean and the low pressure in the Amazonic Mangua, which favors us to have a flow of fresh trade winds in the Colombian-Caribbean basin, predominantly in the east direction with approximate speeds of 16 to 22 knots and a wave height between 1.6 and 2.4 meters. We recommend extreme security measures in the development of all maritime activities to be conducted.
The port captaincy indicated that the weather conditions are expected to change in the course of the next few days and invite all persons engaged in marine activities to be attentive to the reports delivered by the MAR.
The Minister of Health, Fernando Ruiz Gomez, made a statement on the end of the sanitary emergency in the country, as well as the process that was developed during the pandemic regarding the return to normalcy and the current situation of COVID-19 in the country.
The head of the portfolio said that the decision was taken based on 3 considerations: to expand the capacity of the system and intensive care, reaching more than 13,000 beds and sufficient capacity. From this, to reduce the mortality, and the third, to promote economic and social reactivation. Under this consideration, it was established that it was important to start the process of normalization of the functioning of the health system and the activities that were subject to the health emergency from different sectors during these 840 days.
The pandemic continues. We have to be aware of that, and probably COVID-19 will live with us for a long time. That is the reality. So under that reality, we should have an important immunity protection, but we still need it. That is why the objective is to reach the end of the year with 90% of the people with 1 dose, 80% with 2 doses, 70% with booster doses.
The country went from 5,000 ICU beds to 13,000 at the time when they were most needed. What was being proposed in the initiative, once the emergency is over, or a process of reconservation of beds to keep them in reserve and replace equipment that, for example, is very old. It starts its regulation process taking into a regular immunization program to be able to maintain it over time, as mentioned by Minister Ruiz, referring to the future of the national vaccination plan against COVID-19 and the immunization process that will follow.
Now it's time for Sport News with Victor Fusalva.
Hello, here are the parts of the islands. With Jeter Downs, who makes his first debut at the Boston Red Sox against the Detroit Tigers, and he is the first Islanders in Major League Baseball. When Jeter Downs took the field at Fenway Park, history was made for Andres, Providence, Colombia, and South America. The expectations of the Colombians at the Islanders were high. The baseball fans lived this emotion with great joy. Jeter took the field to demonstrate with his glove his defensive talent at third base against the Detroit Tigers. His manager, Alex Corral, gave him confidence by putting him in the 9th slot at bat, where he had 4 opportunities, pinch hitting in the first 3rd innings and with an out in the 4th inning after several contacts with the ball against the veteran left-handed pitcher Tarik Skubal. Downs, who completed his first experience in the major leagues, will continue to improve and climb the ladder in the games to come. The talent there is in the other baseball player Jeter Downs, who wrote the first chapter in the history of Major League Baseball and was the 28th Colombian player to play in the best baseball in the world. This is what Josimar Pereira commented.
Una gran noticia para todos los deportistas.
It is a great news for the island sport, specifically baseball. San Andrean and Orlando today for the first time make his debut in the big leagues. This is a message that he gives us of discipline and a lot of preparation. Also having God very present so that all things go well. Unquestionably, it is very encouraging and motivating news for each of the baseball players in our department with the debut of great baseball player Jeter Downs.
We also send our best energy to Jeter Downs for his debut today. On the other side, already is the selection of dominoes that travel to represent the island department in the Bolivariano Games of Valledupar. The island team led by Ivan Britton traveled to the city of Barranquilla and then will move by land to Valledupar, where they will be competing in the next Bolivarianos tournament in the capital of the Vallenato. We spoke with Gabriel Merlano, who talked about his upcoming presentation at the Dominoes tournament.
We have practiced that and I am in very good state of mind for this tournament. Our goal is to make a good presentation and bring back some good medals from Valledupar.
Another player who spoke was Miguel Chaverra.
I am a player who will represent our beautiful island of San Andres and Providence. We are qualified for this tournament. The tournament is of high level. We have prepared ourselves very well. We have practiced, we have everything coordinated, and we are ready to represent our beautiful island.
The players travel with a positive attitude and hope to obtain good results in the Bolivarianos Dominoes tournament in Valledupar. This is all in sports for the moment. I am Victor Fusalba, Teleislas News.